This program was filmed at Scope West in Las Vegas. I'm pleased to welcome Supply Chain Brain Managing Editor, Bob Bowman.
In the world of supply chain, there's probably no more critical issue than visibility. But how do you enable it? We're going to find out today in my conversation with Garland Duvall, Chief Executive Officer of Datatrac Corp. Garland, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
What about this issue of visibility? Well, let's start by asking you what you think is the biggest challenge that supply chain managers face today. I have a feeling it has something to do with that.
I think it does. Visibility and customer satisfaction are two of the biggest issues that supply chain managers have. And what they are trying to achieve, and what we see interest-wise out in the marketplace that they're trying to achieve, is that total customer satisfaction, which comes from an ability for their customers to know where their shipments are, be able to see where their shipments are, know that they arrived on time, that they got there undamaged, and that they got the best rate possible. And it's that same level of comfort that you and I feel when we're able to track a package that we've ordered all the way from the dock to our desk. And more than anything, in this last, couple of years, we've seen an increased interest in everything from the first mile all the way to the last mile, trying to get complete visibility into the network.
A lot more complicated for a global supply chain than it is for you and I when we're just trying to track a parcel, however.
Absolutely.
Plenty of vendors out there who are trying to address this whole issue of visibility. I just wonder if technology is the so-called silver bullet, which will provide us with this capability, or is there something more out there we need to be thinking about also?
Technology is always going to be the answer. However, there's no such thing as a silver bullet, and nothing is instant. So what we find out there these days is that shippers tend to fall into two kinds of pitfalls. They either buy lots of individual solutions or products that they try to solve point problems with. This creates silos of information that don't communicate with one another and don't create a global visibility, lack of a better word. The other pitfall is, no, we're going to go out and we're going to buy a single solution that's going to encompass everything, and it's going to work everything for everybody. Those tend to generally not work out so well because they never finish getting implemented. They don't actually solve the problems at the individual places within the organization. There's always something lacking. So what we find is that shippers need people, solution providers, to help them come in and understand their problem, find out what the right mix of products are to create the holistic solution they're looking for. And generally what we find at the base of the issue is most of the shippers don't even have the data yet that allows them to get the visibility that they're looking for. They're missing a major component because they buy the tools and the tools don't have anything to look at.
So can we assume then that the starting point is a solid foundation of usable shipment data?
Absolutely. Must get the data in, and you have to be able to define what the right data is. So each shipper is going to have a different set of data that they're looking for that will give them those critical points that they're trying to track, or the visibility that they're trying to get, or the customer satisfaction they're trying to drive. So you have to sit down with the shipper, you have to figure out what it is that they're looking for, have to figure out what is critical in their marketplace, because a lot of these guys operate in niches that each individual's got a different set of data points that they're looking for. And then once you figure that out, you have to expend a lot of effort to get out there to their providers and start working with those folks to be able to deliver the data to the central collecting point where you can start working on this global visibility.
That's key, isn't it? Getting outside the shipper's world, outside the four walls that the shipper has, into the entire supply chain universe in which that shipper exists.
Absolutely key. The being able to get out there and work with the shipper's network, to already be working with a large part of their network maybe, to know how to get in front of those folks and figure out what way they can deliver the right amount of data that's coming in at the right times, that's key, absolutely critical.
So would that be your first step in dealing with a shipper, is to somehow kind of, first of all, define that universe of partners, define the data that's involved, and somehow validate the data before you even get to step 2, which is the application of technology?
Absolutely. That's exactly what you must do. You must sit down with the shipper. You must define what it is that he's looking for, what is his end goal, and what data will actually get him to that end goal. And then go out to the providers of service that he's using and make sure that they can bring that data in.
How long a process is that? It sounds like that would be awfully complicated.
Oh, it takes quite a while. Well, it depends. To some degree, it depends on the level of business that the shipper provides to the different carriers or providers of service. So if the shipper is 50% of that provider's business, he's going to be real anxious to deliver that data. If he's 2%, he's not going to be real anxious to deliver that data unless it's very easy for him. But we've had rollouts run from just a few months all the way up to several years in order to get to that point.
Is there any particular part of a shipper's supply chain that typically poses the biggest challenge in terms of, number 1, getting the data, and number 2, making sure that it's valid, accurate data?
Yes, it's always the first mile or the last mile. Those tendrils of that supply chain generally are the ones where you're using the most providers and the ones with the least amount of technology. So you must get out there and find out what kind of level of technology they have. If they don't have the right level, get some technology to them that they can use in order to provide that data back to the shipper, or find them a new carrier which does have that level of technology and make sure that they provide that data to the solution.
Now, I assume that you work in a number of industries. I'm wondering if any particular one of those industries is especially well advanced in terms of being able to achieve these goals, or if there are other industries that are especially backward and have a farther to go.
Oddly enough, the 2 most advanced ones that we see, well, I guess one of them's not odd, is the pharmaceutical industry. Being able to track all of those really expensive, really dangerous pharmaceuticals as they move around has been a high priority for a long time, so they're well developed. The one that's sort of odd is office supplies. For some reason or other, the ability for the administrative assistant or whatever to be able to go online and make sure that box of paper or scissors or whatever it is arrives at her desk and exactly when seems to be very important to the office supply industry. So they have expended a lot of effort to make sure they can track all that. Truly, having a hard time, that's almost everybody else. They would like to get the data. They're not sure how to get from point A to point B as far as collecting that and granting the visibility. And to some degree, they're all concerned that the more visibility that they try to get out of their network, the more it's going to cost them to do that.
Interesting, in the case of pharmaceuticals, that certainly makes sense. They have no choice. They have to be able to track product in order to stay compliant with a whole rash of regulations that affect their industry. But office supplies, you wouldn't think that they would be as advanced.
You wouldn't, and it's very interesting though, because they obviously are in a highly competitive situation, and the visibility, to that end user is one of those things that they believe will grant them that piece of business that they might steal from the next office supply provider.
So let's look to the future, Garland. How do you see supply chain visibility as continuing to evolve?
I think the key is the openness of the solutions that are coming down the pipe. The solutions that people are building and providing now in all industries, and not just supply chain, but it's actually getting into supply chain now, very open, very core competency driven. So what I believe will happen is the TMS vendors will stay directly on the TMS side, on the rating and the loading and the packing of the truck and the getting the order out, but they'll go less and less on the visibility side, and that'll become somebody else's core competency, because you can't focus on every part of the supply chain and be good at it. And I think that, so that was just an example that the TMS guys will probably become more and more rate driven or shipment driven, whatever you want to call that, order entry driven. And then there'll be a whole new rash of providers that do just visibility or just tracking or whatever. But because of the openness of the solutions, they'll learn how to integrate well with one another so that you can create a complete and total solution around your global supply chain, but you were able to do it with a variety of products.
Well, maybe we will finally find that holy grail of complete visibility across the supply chain.
It'll happen. It might be the 24th century before we get there. Who knows?
Garland, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. We appreciate your being here today.
Thank you for allowing me to talk to you. Appreciate it.
I've been speaking with Garland Duvall of Datatrac Corp on the issue of supply chain visibility. Thank you very much for watching.